I'm going to try and read the majority of this article because this is fantastic. Here we go. The appearance of flying saucers in our skies raises lots of questions. Where do they come from? What are they doing here? Why did they start appearing to us after World War II? After more than 60 years of study, why do they still remain a mystery? Now, already I have a bit of a problem with this article because they haven't been appearing to humans, just since World War II. I'm a little disappointed there. They've seemed to have been in the human record since the beginning. Anyway, I'll continue. The main view is that UFOs, after all the misidentified and other clutter are eliminated, represent extraterrestrial craft. This so-called extraterrestrial hypothesis, ETH for short, is dominant in the USA and is strongly supported and spread throughout the world by all forms of media, from video games and Hollywood movies to newspapers. If you criticize the ETH, you soon get mobbed by its angry supporters. You have to have courage to try to stand up to their protests that no other theory fits the facts. The late Mac Tonnies was one of the few brave enough to do so and show that this king of all theories is not exactly naked, but dressed in rather ragged clothing. Mac saw that there are many flaws to the ETH and was frustrated by the fact that the old guard of ufology blindly supported at all costs. It has become an enshrined belief system that has to be protected against the attacks of the nasty skeptics or believers who do not toe this party line. One of the basic concerns of scientific ETH ufology is to be treated with respect and acceptance by the scientific community and the world at large. Crystal-gazing shamans and New Agers have been either ignored or accepted through the back door of alien abduction research, where all sorts of weird experiences are openly embraced. Mac laid aside all the preconceptions about the origins of UFOs, and in his last book, The Crypto-Terrestrials, he tried to figure out other more radical and up-to-date ways of explaining this phenomenon. His alternative concept of the crypto-terrestrials came from an unusual inspiration. He observed his kittens playing with a laser pointer. The kittens would run and leap all over the room in pursuit of the pointer's red dot. They had no concern about the origins of the light or who was controlling it. For Mac, the dot represented the UFO, and the kittens the ufologists, running after it. Indeed, like Mac's manipulation of the pointer, he felt the UFO phenomenon seems to play with our expectations, taunting us at every turn. In the Crypto-Terrestrials, Mac notes that UFO sightings and encounters seem intrinsically stage-managed. As he puts it, quote, genuine ET visitors would probably have little need for the conspicuous maneuvers and trace evidence that form the backbone of the ETH. In the event of alien visitation, it's likely we'd never see objects resembling recognizable craft, let alone vehicles, encumbered with attention-grabbing lights and adorned with portholes. Considering they're supposed to be secretly collaborating with world governments to abduct people and introduce alien technology to our culture, UFOs are blatant show-offs. They put on fantastic light displays and buzz over our cities. Rather than hide behind clouds or take sensible precautions, they just beg to be seen by as many people as possible. When people are abducted, their encounters have all the qualities of bad B-movies. Mac cites the classic case of Betty and Barney Hill, folks, by the way, whose niece, Kathleen Martin, will be on a future episode of the Unified Field, I think in September. That will air for you guys, so stay tuned for that. It's going to be great. Betty and Barney Hill, who were the first to report being examined by aliens inside a UFO. Betty was given a 3D presentation of a star map that has condemned ufologists to thousands of hours contemplating what star systems and routes it may have depicted. Mac agrees that it was a real experience, but there's no proof that the Hills met aliens inside a spacecraft. A few years earlier, in 1957, Antonio Villas-Boas claimed he had sexual intercourse with a short, fair-skinned female alien inside a UFO that landed on his farm. Before leaving the craft, the alien pointed at her stomach and then at the sky. This implied she would give birth to his baby back on her planet. On this issue, Mac agrees with Jacques Vallée that a union between a human and a genuine extraterrestrial would not be viable. The female alien must have had some human qualities for the successful delivery of a hybrid baby as a result of this encounter. From the alien abduction literature, it is obvious that the aliens are obsessed with probing our bodies and the creation of hybrid babies. From this, Mac deduces that the aliens are suffering from a debilitating genetic syndrome and are harvesting us on a regular basis to either solve or at least control this problem. Since their biology seems much akin with our own, it seems plausible that instead of being truly alien, they are in fact an indigenous species of this planet. He suggests that due to the ever-growing presence of Homo sapiens, they have hidden away from us for centuries. Over this period, they have used stealth and cunning to keep out of our way, yet because they share our planet, their fate is intrinsically linked with our own. Using psychological manipulation and technology that is just a little more advanced than our own, they have managed to elude and trick humanity for centuries. In the past, they have been seen as fairies, demons, or ghosts. Today, they present themselves as aliens. Their concern about atomic warfare, pollution, and the environment was presented to the contactees of the 60s, and in recent years by audio-visual presentations of global doom to abductees. This seems to underline their need to keep our planet intact, a need that would not be of such urgent concern for actual spacefaring aliens. Now, I have to stop there for a second because I have a bit of an issue with that statement, too, in this article. Why wouldn't it be a concern for spacefaring aliens? I mean, we know right now that all of our acts of destabilizing the environment somehow is going to affect the rest of the solar system and maybe, like in the butterfly effect, affect the rest of the cosmos. I mean, quantum physics right now also is pointing to the idea that our intentions have the same effect. So if we destroyed our planet, what effect would that have on our solar system and other solar systems and our galaxy and beyond? It probably would have a negative one, I would think, I mean, we all exude some sort of energy. We all have some sort of life force, and the Earth itself has a life force, and the Earth producing us, grows its own life force. So I don't really agree with that one. That aliens wouldn't be concerned with that if they were from another planet. Anyway, we'll move on here. The big question regarding Mac's crypto-terrestrial hypothesis, CTH, is where are these beings lurking? If they are flesh and blood creatures like us, then they have to live somewhere. Mac suggests that they live in underground bases and in cities under the sea. This would explain why many abduction stories describe alien planets or the interior of UFOs or as being like caves or tunnels, and why alien greys have large eyes to see in these darker environments. Also, why so many UFOs are seen over or coming out of bodies of water. On the one hand, Mac claims that cryptoterrestrials could be using neurological technology to inhabit and control our bodies, like remote control toys. Yet on the other, he claims that they use low technology devices like balloons to fool us. Of the Roswell crash incident of 1947, he notes that no high-technology wreckage was found, and that it could have been a cryptoterrestrial surveillance balloon that was responsible for this case. I have another problem with that. The Roswell case it's got enormous amounts of data from a number of different sources that says that the material obtained from the ranch was not of this earth. Think about it. Jesse Marcel Jr. handled the stuff. He's alive. He's a doctor. His dad was high in the ranks in the military. That's what he said. He brought the stuff back, and they both handled it. And other witnesses. Mac Brazel handled it. I don't know. There's holes in this article, Mr. Watson. So I don't know. I mean, Mac Tonnies is citing this, obviously. So I'm not pointing at you, but anyway, here we are. Mac makes a relatively good case against the power of the ETH myth, but I find his CTH speculation lacks focus and real commitment. He is willing to acknowledge that the cryptoterrestrials could be projections from the collective unconscious, visitors from parallel dimensions, manipulators of John Keel's superspectrum, residents of alternative realities which can be explored through shamanic procedures or hybrid creatures. This open-mindedness to virtually every theory going for the origin of aliens is admirable, He even concedes that some of the cryptoterrestrials could be extraterrestrial in origin. In this manner, Mac has his cake and eats it. Whatever the reality of these beings, Mac concludes that they could be part of a hive-like mind whose ultimate designs on humanity are either to help our evolution to a higher level or to engineer our extinction. Whether we believe him or not, Mac's short book packs an exciting kaleidoscope of ideas and speculation. It does not deliver a knockout blow to the ETH, but it does give a good kicking. Filmmaker Paul Kimball, who was a close friend of Mac, notes that an important aspect of Mac's work and way of thinking was to encourage people to think again and to embrace the UFO phenomenon once again as a fascinating mystery worth looking into. He was all about the journey, not the destination. You can pick up the Cryptoterrestrials by Mac Tonnies from Anomalist Books. Check them out online and find his stuff. The late Mac Tonnies, of course, who is now departed planet Earth to the next level, as I like to call it. But there it is. Cryptoterrestrials living inside the Earth? You know, there are a lot of reports of reptilian-type creatures. I mean, you've all heard of that if you're listening to this program, obviously, and the Greys. It makes a good point about the big dark eyes, you know, to be able to see underground. Who's to say that over the millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of years since the dinosaurs that we, quote-unquote, quote, came about, these dinosaurs didn't really become completely extinct, but evolved into a sort of hominid species? And, being cold-blooded, moved underground to be closer to the warmth of the center of the Earth. That's just a theory. I'm not saying I believe that. That's one floating around out there. And that these reptilians perhaps created the Greys, or because they're so ancient, know the Greys, who may be robots according to Nigel Kerner. That's another story. Who knows? You could be cryptoterrestrials. I mean, there's the story of the base underground in Mexico, the Dulce base, the Dulce mines. Is that correct? Phil, what's his name? Phil. He's now deceased. Some people claim he may have been murdered. I can't remember that guy's last name, but apparently he worked in these facilities underground, and him and his team and a number of other people uncovered an underground hive filled with hundreds of these things, and there was a battle that ensued, and he lost fingers, and some of his comrades died. So there is a little bit of evidence that would point to this idea of cryptoterrestrials. An interesting speculation indeed by the late Mac Tonnies. Pick up that book, The Cryptoterrestrials. It's an interesting read for sure. That's going to do it for our Exopolitical Pulse. That was fun. Our featured magazine of the evening is Paranormal Magazine. You can reach them online if you want to go paper-free, which is very admirable in this dangerous time, at www.paranormalmagazine.co.uk. I guess before we wrap up the evening, I should make one last note on the Exopolitical Pulse. I'm running really short on time here. I got to wrap things up. What is the deal with Doug and Dave coming back into the news on Yahoo with this highly produced video of crop circles that basically say that crop circles are all entirely made by these old, very, very old pub-crawling best buddies in England? What is going on here? This story's so old. It's been around since, the Doug and Dave thing since, the 90s. Why are they... Who in their right minds who have been looking into the subject of crop circles would ever believe that Doug and Dave created all of these miraculous crop circles with high amounts of data and information suggesting that there's a technology involved with the creation of these crop circles, not by two drunkards running around with a board snapping crop? I don't get it. Anyway, I want to say thank you to executive producer of What on Earth and Crop Circle's Quest for Truth, Suzanne Taylor, for giving me the heads up on that story. She's going to be coming up on a future episode of The Unified Field. In It should be mid-August. I think August 14th is the air date for that. It's going to be great. We're going to talk about her views on crop circles and her movies and where she's going from here.